This is CNN.
CNN Sports Tonight is one less vacancy in the NFL. Chuck Knox proving that, yes, you can go home again. But would Bill Parcells get another crack at that Buccaneers job? We'll tell you what's happening on that front. In playoff news, we'll talk Redskins, who try once again this weekend to play Lion Tamers. We've got hoops. The birdless Celtics try to solve the New York Knicks. And among the collegians, top-rated Duke draws ACC foe Maryland. And there's baseball. Don't adjust that set. Those are blue shoes Eric Davis is wearing.
Baseball,
but it is.
Right? It's L.A. Hello again, everybody, and welcome. I'm Nick Charles.
And I'm Fred Hickman. And wait until you see the play of the day a little bit later. It could be a play of the year candidate. I'm not sure.
Drove me nuts, I'll tell you that.
But the man of the night, I know. But you'll get it later. The man of the night, though, tonight is Chuck Knox in Los Angeles. King for a day.
He is the guy. Chuck Knox returned to coach the L.A. Rams today, 14 years after he was fired there. Knox later coached in Buffalo and then Seattle until he and the Seahawks reached a parting of the waters after a 7-9 season. The Rams went 3-13, but one rap on them was how cheap the front office was pursuing talent. Knox today, though, got plenty of money and power. He was named coach and team vice president responsible for the draft and player personnel.
The stipulation was that we will actively pursue and participate in the 5 areas that I mentioned earlier as far as the acquisition of talent is concerned. And that's the draft, trades, Plan B, the waiver wire, and free agents.
Knox is still the most successful coach the Rams have ever had. But when he was cut loose after the 1977 season, then owner Carroll Rosenblum complained the Rams' offense was too dull. 14 years later, Rosenblum's widow, Georgia Frontier, gave the game ball to Knox and told him to run with it or pass with it.
We've changed over the years, and here again it depends upon the personnel. I just need to take a look and analyze this talent and decide which is the best direction to go. Obviously, you'd like to have a mix of run and pass, and you'd like to be successful doing both.
So Knox lands on his feet after reaching the point of diminishing return in Seattle. And although his name was mentioned in conjunction with a lot of coaching vacancies,
this is the only place that I interviewed. And it was really the only job that I wanted.
I didn't think Georgia wanted to give up that ball, did you? Knox added when he was let loose, Rosenblum told him he might be back someday. Today was that day. Fred?
Some other NFL coaching news in a nutshell. First, Bill Parcells. He is all the way out of contention at Tampa Bay. The former head coach of the Giants, a man who won a pair of Super Bowls in 5 years. He was offered a guaranteed $6.5 million 5-year package by the Bucs less than 2 weeks ago. But according to team owner Hugh Culverhouse, Parcells left the Bucs crying at the altar. So the two met again today near Washington, reportedly at Parcells' behest, and could not work anything out. A Bucs spokesman said Culverhouse could not find a good comfort level which would allow him to get over the rejection. 'Tis the plight of the jilted bride, I guess. Still in contention, though, at Tampa, Weish, Ryan, Peters, and Holmgren, and there could be a decision by week's end. Could it be Bill Walsh will be heading back to the 49ers? Sure could. Newspaper accounts in the Bay Area abound with rumors Walsh is about to head back to the team he led to 3 Super Bowl titles while the head coach there. This time, he would serve as a full-time consultant. Could be an answer there by this weekend. Of course, both he and Parcells are currently employed as commentators by NBC. And Stanford Cardinal head coach Dennis Green canceled a scheduled interview with the Steelers today, so his name is out of the kitty altogether, as Green is apparently pursuing that Minnesota vacancy. A number of guys are still in the money, though, to replace Chuck Nolan in Pittsburgh. Steelers assistant Joe Green and Dick Hoke are in that number. Okay?
Denver's an 11.5-point underdog at Buffalo Sunday, but believe it or not, things are looking up for the Broncos. First, they've got that overlooked but extremely tough front 7 on defense. And on the other side of the ball, John Elway. But the good news today in Denver was the return of wide receiver Mark Jackson, who was supposed to be finished for the season since dislocating his wrist in November. Jackson, who was cleared to practice today in Denver, he was the Broncos' leading receiver before he got hurt. Coach Dan Reeves said the wide receiver status is a complete surprise, and if Jackson's ready, it'd be a huge lift for the team against the Bills. Meanwhile, the Redskins are the top-heavy pick to roll right into another Super Bowl. Washington's home against the Lions on Sunday and favored by nearly 2 TDs. The Skins have had huge success all season against run-and-shoot teams like and including the Lions, whom they annihilated in the season opener. But Redskins coach Joe Gibbs says the way the Lions manhandled Dallas is cause for real concern. And one former Detroit player now with the Redskins figures the RFK factor won't phase his ex-team.
I don't think that playing home or away matters to them. They're on an emotional high right now, and they won't hear the fans. They're going to be so geeked up.
When you get this close, you get so nervous you can't hardly rest or sleep. You're kind of agitated. You're wanting to work and think, and it's kind of hard to concentrate on things.
Well, the focus for the Redskins might be just be themselves. They didn't go 14-2 during the regular season on a fluke. Gibbs, though, has to make sure his team doesn't take Detroit lightly, and his best ammo is preaching how last week Detroit did to Dallas what his Redskins couldn't come close to doing in 2 regular season tries. Washington's got home field and weather in its favor. The forecast by the late afternoon kickoff, it's hog weather. Sunday, cold, rainy, and sloppy. Fred?
Man, somebody's doing a rain dance in D.C. I'm telling you, 2 straight weeks of that. But the interesting thing about Detroit is that they've changed so many things since that opening day. Like the defense had gone to the 3-4 now instead of the 4-3.
Right, and won 7 straight. But Washington just doesn't beat themselves.
No, they don't. A solid team. Still ahead, we're going to change subjects and get into the basketball. All kinds of it, including the New York Knicks. 21 regular season trips to the Garden, 21 straight losses before tonight. Does the run end? We'll go check it out together.
And get a look at the top banana in college ball and conference action tonight. The Duke Blue Devils and much more when CNN Sports Tonight continues.
For years, the German motoring press has ranked Mercedes and BMW ahead of Audi. But recent tests conducted by 3 of that country's top automotive publications reversed that order. The car they put at the head of this very impressive class was the all-new Audi 100. For your copy of the test that put Audi first, call 1-800-4AUDI.
The New Yorker. It's been called the best magazine in the world, probably the best magazine that ever was. See if you agree. Call this number and get 52 weekly issues of the New Yorker for just $25.95. That's $65 off the cover price. Week after week, the quality of the New Yorker speaks for itself.
So call 1-800-257-1257 for 52 weekly issues of the best magazine in the world. Yes, the New Yorker.
Last night, Tom Seaver and Rollie Fingers were voted into baseball's Hall of Fame. This was also the first year Pete Rose was supposed to be eligible and a mortal lock to join the Immortals. Rose got 41 write-in votes instead, but the door to the Hall of Fame is slammed shut to him for now. Rose spent the morning debuting as a South Florida radio host, and while he talked about one day asking baseball to forgive him and open the door to Cooperstown, Commissioner Fay Vincent said the overriding fact remains. Rose is out because he bet on baseball.
Well, there's no question about that.
No question.
No doubt about it.
About the Reds itself.
Well, bet on baseball. I think we'll leave it at that. He bet on the Reds, too, sure. And there's just no doubt about that.
You know, I read in the paper daily about guys given 2, 3, 4 chances. They don't take advantage of it. But, you know, I proved that I was human, and I did make some mistakes. But I paid, like you said, for my mistakes. But I guess what I'm looking for is an opportunity. I'm not looking for sympathy. I don't need that. But I'm looking for an opportunity.
We do have the obligation to look at this when and if he applies, and I'll do it carefully and think about all the ramifications. But the issue is really not just Pete Rose. The issue is baseball and what's best for baseball.
Before the gambling scandal, Rose had been considered a lock for first-year induction and maybe a record percentage of votes. Tom Seaver did just that instead, and today was in New York along with Rollie Fingers, where he talked about the very real feeling of immortality.
One of the things that will happen is that my children will be able to take their children to the Hall of Fame and say, there's your grandfather. And in his day, he was pretty good at what he did. And that's a very special, that's a very special thing for me.
Seaver got 98.8% of the votes. 2 retired writers, though, didn't even vote for Seaver, essentially because they don't think anybody should be unanimous. Lighten up, fellas. It's the Hall of Fame. It's not heaven. Fred?
Wow. Well, you've got to go back a long, long while to find the last time the New York Knicks got a regular season win in Boston.